Now that you are helping people to do this as literally your career and what you do day in and day out, has it changed anything for you and how you even approach your work?
100%. I can be a little black and white. Empathy is sort of the theme in my head over all of this. Is it made me understand how other people might be thinking a lot better. It clued me into how to read that and to address it and to talk about it up front and to validate those who aren't comfortable with it. As somebody who was an egg banker, the goal is to do donor egg cycles. And I did them great. And I was thrilled with how successful that was. But I think in the early years of the egg bank, when I do the consults, it was more about, look what we can do. And this is going to be less expensive and it's going to be faster and all the things that made egg banking beneficial. But I wasn't really talking a lot about the psychological piece. Mm-hmm. And though I understood its importance, I didn't put a lot of emphasis on it. And now my consults include comments like, this usually goes fine, but you honestly really don't know what you're going to get till you get it. And you may recognize behaviors in a donor-conceived child that are not familiar to your family, but might be familiar in the donor's family. It's an argument for disclosure. It's an argument for making this open and collaborative rather than here's your donor egg, see what you can do with it. It has changed my conversations. It's changed the way I think about it. I hope it's made me a more empathetic person. It's actually made it more meaningful too. The Ashkenazi gene bundle contains an awful lot of stuff. And one of the things that comes with it is obsessive compulsive disorder. And I had never been formally diagnosed, though I certainly showed the symptoms. And I learned from Josh that, oh yeah, that is what I had. And I got it confirmed by a mental health professional by taking the Yale Brown assessment. And it wasn't severe, which I'm glad to say, though, you know, my A student wanted it to be the top. but mild to moderate, I could accept. But it really made me start asking an awful lot of questions about how I think, how I make decisions, what motivates fear, what causes my triggers, all of these things. And had it not been for that meeting, I wouldn't have gone down the path of self-discovery. I'm very grateful for that part. There were several elements of this that became quite disruptive, frankly. But in the long run, I found me. Was happy about the discoveries, even though there's some cringe in there.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but that is so interesting you say that, because typically when you're talking about the donor conceived person and then the person who gave them the genetics, it's always the conversation about how it impacted the donor conceived person and how it has changed their lives. Very rarely do we have the conversation about how it has changed the lives of the person who gave that genetic.
It taught me who I was, and it taught me how to talk better to my kids. Now, they might not agree with that, but all three of them have some form or flavor of this. And instead of, oh, don't worry about it, poo, 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 I started listening to the anxious talk through a different lens. In fact, I had a conversation with my son, Jeremy, where he was down a little obsessive loop. And I said, you're not an axe murderer. You're not going to kill anybody. You're not going to throw yourself off the railing. You're not going to put the cat in the microwave. You're not going to do any of these horrible things.
Right.
And there was a long pause. He says, how the F would you know that's what's in my head? And I started to laugh. And I said, yeah, apples and trees, buddy. Obsessive disorders aren't rational.